This is Dr. Emmanuel Rich, and today I want us to talk about something different from Saudi Arabia. And today is going to be Australia. You know, these are things that I have tried, and for the meantime, I took a break on them. But I want to share the opportunity. If you're an optometrist and you're looking for places to go to, countries that you can explore, Australia is one of the countries that you can explore. They have a wonderful practice there, and they have a pathway that welcomes foreign trained optometrists. Okay, why I want to share this is that it's something I have gone in depth, although I kind of put a break on it because I'm not ready for that move at the moment. One of the things I would say about the Australia pathway is it has a lot of financial implications. So if you're planning to go for an Australia pathway to practice in Australia, you have to be financially ready for that because it requires a lot of money, and that was one of the reasons I had to put it on hold. But I want to share it out there for people that would want to try it out. Maybe you have a strong backing, a strong financial backup, then you can try Australia. They have a nice pathway for you, and let's dive into this and let's explore how you can go about this. Although this video was made for optometrists, if you're a medical practitioner, no matter your field, no matter your specialty area, it can still be a guide towards anything you want to do. If you are considering Australia as one of the pathways you have in mind, then you can still use this video for your own guideline because the processes are almost the same. All right. To practice as an optometrist in Australia with a foreign qualification, your qualification has to be assessed to prove if it has if it's substantially equivalent to that of Australia. So the first step on the list is the assessment of your eligibility, and this assessment is to assess if your foreign qualification is equivalent or substantially equivalent to that of Australia. So once you scale through this assessment, eligibility assessment, the second step is to write your competency in optometry examination. We call it COE. So you have to do your COE. Now this COE is divided into 5 stages. It's 2 written exams. Then you have in the middle the cultural safety training for optometrists in Australia. Then the 2 clinical exams. So the first is the 2 written exams. Now the second, you have to do your cultural and safety training for optometrists. Then your clinical examination, 2 clinical examinations. So making it 5 exams you have to go through. Now I'll still come back to this exam and what it entails. Alright, the next step is for you to write your English proficiency exam. Now note that for the assessment, for the OCANZ assessment or for the examination itself, your English proficiency is not needed. But for your board registration, Australian board registration, you need your English proficiency exam. You have to prove your English proficiency. So this is why you have to write your English proficiency exam, your proficiency test recognized by the Board of Optometry in Australia. So the 4th stage is the registration with the Optometry Board of Australia, OBA. So this is the 4th stage. Okay. Now there are many other things that involves before this stage. Okay. So this is the 4th stage. The first stage is assessment, eligibility assessment. Second is for you to write your exam. Third is for you to get your English proficiency. Then the 4th is for you to approach the board for registration. The 5th is for you to get a visa pathway. Just go for your visa, know the visa pathways that you are qualified to go for. Then the sixth is for you to look for employment and get employed. So these are the 6 stages. But these stages have a lot of things in between. So we will go deep, and I have to make a lot of things clearer. And other options you have, you might not follow it exactly this way. There are many other options you have, especially when it comes to writing the written exams and the practical exams, because the clinical exams requires you to be in Australia. So how you can navigate it, and how you can navigate through, and how you can enter into Australia while planning to do your clinical exams. So hold on and keep watching. You will get all the details in this video. Alright, like I said, let's go through what the COE, the Competency in Optometry examination will cost you. And as of 2024, when they updated the payment, the fees, before you go into the exam, there are 3 different forms. We have Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3. The Form 1 costs 434 Australian dollars. Then the Form 2 costs $843, and Form 3 costs 843 Australian dollars. So these 3 forms depends on your eligibility. There are things that will determine which form you are going to go for. But when you go to the OCANZ website, you'll be able to go through and read all these things properly. So let's go deep and proper into what each of these exams will cost you. Then the 2 written exams, the first one will cost you the written exams, both paper will cost you 3,431 Australian dollars, while each of the paper costs 1,804 Australian dollars. Now the clinical exam, the one you will write or you will do in Australia, the clinical exam costs 2,780 Australian dollar. That's the skill exam. Then the patient exam, this patient exam, you have to be assessed while seeing a patient. Now the patient exam will cost 4,584 Australian dollars. It's a huge amount of money. So before you make this step, you must have a strong financial backup. Now the middle exam, which is the cultural safety training for optometrists, this one is the least, and it costs 283 Australian dollars, and it is non-refundable. Now we have administrative review fee, which is 848 Australian dollars. We have appeal community review, which costs 1,697 Australian dollars. So all these fees is also listed in the OCANZ website, so you can go there and review it by yourself. Let's keep going deep and deep. All right, the next step is, let's look at the visa eligibility and the options you have to move to Australia. All right, there are many visa pathways. One is the temporary skill shortage, that's subclass 482. Then we have skill employment sponsored regional visa. This is subclass 494. Then you have another skill independent visa. This is subclass 189. And you have skill nominated visa. You have subclass 190. So these are the 4 classes of visa you can explore with this optometry pathway. Now, where the main challenge usually, or where people used to get confused, is how they can write the clinical exams, because the written exams, you can write it in your home country if they have center there. But if they don't have center, they have countries nearby that have these centers, and you can go to these centers to write this exam. Now, when you write, after writing the written exams, you might be faced with challenges of moving to Australia to do the clinical exam. So what pathway can you follow when you want to do your clinical exam after you scale through your written exam. All right, in Australia, there is something we call limited registration, and that of New Zealand is provisional scope of practice. So these two terms is what is needed. Let's go on. This limited registration is after you've written your written exam and you scale through, you can apply for limited registration. So when you apply for limited registration with the Optometry board, they will give you a temporary recognition that you can use to look for this visa and employment in Australia. But your practice with limited registration, your practice will be highly supervised. So when you come to Australia to practice with this limited registration, it will be highly supervised. So with this limited registration, you have a space of a space of 1 year for you to be able to conclude on when you will do your clinical exams. So with only written exams, you'll be able to do your limited registration, move to Australia, practice under strict supervision, then you can now apply to do your clinical exam. After your clinical exam, if you pass your clinical exam, you will be qualified to practice in Australia. Then there is something also we call ACOT. This is for therapeutics. So if you want to be prescribing, you have to do another limited supervised practice. But this time around, it will not be a strict supervision. It will be a kind of a little supervision before you write your ACOT exams. All right, so there are more to come. So I think just follow up. Let's go.